Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After a short break, I, Niyati.
And I Hers, student of PGDM at National Insurance Academy. We are delighted to take you forward for the second round of panel discussion, where we will be exploring the theme Next Generation Talent, redefining the employee experience, and taking a fresh look at its various dimensions.
Dr. Prashant Mishra, Professor IIM Calcutta, will moderate the discussion on the next gen talent redefining the employee experience. Dr. Prashant Mishra is an accomplished educator, researcher, trainer, consultant, and institutional builder in both finest public and private educational institutions in India. Presently, he is serving as a professor of marketing at IIM Calcutta. He has also served as Dean, School of Business Management at SVKM's Narsimonji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai.
The experts in the panel are Mr. Hitesh Kamdar, Head of Employee Experience and Corporate Communications, Elastic Run, Ms. Lata Sarkara, Head of HR, Uponly Technologies, Mohammad Nurani, Director Reinsurance, Interlink Insurance and Reinsurance Private Limited, Ms. Priya Sunil Srinivasan, CHRO, Plum, Mr. Saurabh Syam, Head HR and Learning and Development, SBI General Insurance. Now I request the esteemed experts to come together and take their positions on the dais.
Meanwhile, let me take this opportunity to introduce the experts on the panel. Mr. Hitesh Kamdar is a seasoned HR professional with almost 2 decades of experience in organizational development, change management, and HR. He is an alum of National Insurance Academy and Tata Institute of Social Science. Hitesh is also an associate certified coach from the International Coaching Federation and specializes in career coaching. With strong background in multiple industries, including BFSI, IT, ITES, and e commerce. His current role at Elastic Run, he leads employee experience and corporate communications.
Ms. Lata Sarkara has a strong background in human resource development, systems management, and administration. She holds a master's degree in human resource development from Mumbai University and a postgraduate diploma in systems and software management from NIIT. In her current role, she heads the human resource at Uponly Technologies. With over 2 decades of experience, she has a proven track record in developing and implementing HR strategies, policies, and processes, and has contributed significantly to the growth and success of the organizations she has worked for.
Mohammad Nurani is the Director of Reinsurance and member of senior management at Interlink Insurance and Reinsurance Broking Private Limited with over 15 years of experience. Prior to the current role, he has worked with various organizations of repute like Gallagher Brokers, KM Dastur, and Mahindra Insurance Brokers. He is an alum of National Insurance Academy and has done dual specialization in insurance and marketing.
Ms. Priya Sunil Ms. Priya Sunil is an education and health advocate with a master's in applied social psychology and has over 17 years of experience in talent management and organizational development. She is currently associated with Plum as a Chief Human Resources Officer and has worked with leading non-profit organizations like the Akansa Foundation, Teach for India, and the Nudge Institute.
Finally, I present Mr. Saurabh Sham, the Head of Human Resource and Learning and Development at SBI General Insurance. With 17 years of experience in the BFSI sector, he is focused on fostering a high performance culture aligned with company's core values. He believes that strong combination of people, product, and process is essential for organizational success and encourages employees to follow their passions, invest in lifelong learnings, and succeed as teams.
Following the brief introductions, I kindly invite my colleagues to formally greet them.
Thank you so much. I now request Dr. Prashant Mishra to kindly commence the discussion. At the end, if time permits, he may also take some questions from the audience.
Sir, the stage is all yours.
Good afternoon. I'm sure you are rejuvenated after the first panel discussion, and it's my privilege to be amongst five colleagues who have rich and diverse experience uh, from financial services industry. Uh, and I'm sure next 75 minutes or so, you will have a lot to learn and lot to ponder over. And as the MC said, uh, at the end, if there are some time available at our hand, uh, we will have some question and answer too. As you know, this panel is, the theme of the panel is the next gen talent, redefining the employee experience. And what we are going to do is we have uh, envisaged it as three blocks. And in the first block, I'm going to request my fellow panelists to talk about how do they see the future of the workforce, what characteristics, expectations, and how organizations which they have experienced uh, are gearing themselves up to manage the future workforce, what we call Gen Z or next generation, etc. And I, being a teacher, you know, I am agnostic to this generational debates because throughout whole career, you know, you see generations, you know, and I'm just waiting to see because I joined my profession very young. So by the time I retire, I'm sure I have taught the father and the child both. Uh, and uh, I don't experience my job at one level, at macro level, changing that much. I'm still trying to encourage them to learn how to learn, how to question, to develop critical thinking skills. But of course, the blackboard and the peripherals around me had certainly changed. So when I started my career, PowerPoint was not a big thing, right? So your oratorial skill and the physical effort to teach was much, much higher. And you get your hands dirty because you have to use chalk so much. Today, of course, that has gone down, right? Now people think whether I am very good at presentation skill or not, whether my PPTs are clumsy, too much stuffed in one slide, whether I am reading from PPT and those kind of changes. So when I reflect on this question, that what do people expect today? Uh, Today, people getting into employment, what is their notion of uh, loyalty? What is their notion of growth? What is their expectation from organizations in terms of how organizations will create opportunities for them and provide for facilitation so that they remain uh, relevant, right? They are, how are organizations preparing them to perform as per the expectations of the organizations? And around these debates, there are also the question of uh, how technology, what role technology is playing from both stakeholders' perspective, from the employer's perspective and from the employee perspective. What are the competencies which are uh, needed today? What role the soft side or the hard side of the competencies play? Same questions are to the organization. Is that organization still has what we call people management, or it has become people technology management, or technology oriented people management? And the third part, of course, in a large, diverse, and what you call society like ours, where equality or egalitarianism is also an issue. a society which has deep rooted social prejudice, whether it is about gender, whether it is about social class, whether it is about economic disparity or hierarchy, how they look at social hierarchies, and how organizations which operate in these milieus are responding to the diversity, equity, and inclusion related issues. And also, one of the issue which has remained always in play, and no matter what world we live in, it was there 50 years back, it was there 25 years back, it is there today, is the well-being of the people, right? And since the time the thought of management or the formal concept or idea of management evolved, from that time itself, people used to talk about the Eastern philosophy versus Western philosophy, where employees were seen as part of a larger families. And some of you who would have taken your management history lessons well, you would realize that the Japanese way of approaching the employer-employee relationship versus the Western way of approaching the employee-employer relationship, and it has a lot to do in terms of consequence for the employee well-being, right? It's a big issues that there are businesses or which have to face the issue of attrition, issue of employee motivation, physical health, mental health, as well as economic well-being. And so the three blocks, we are going to look at what are the expectations, how organizations view the world going forward vis-a-vis employee characteristics and how they manage them. We are going to look at role technology plays, and then we are going to also look at the diversity, equity, and inclusion and well-being related issues. So to commence, I would like to invite Hitesh to share his thought about that, what he thinks is the workforce of future going to be, or what it is looking like, and how organizations which he has experienced are gearing up to respond to those new realities.
Sure. Thank you, Professor. Just to give a background, I have worked in a traditional organization, a tech organization, and currently I am in a startup. So this is the context, and definitely I would like to share my experience on Generation Z or the next generation. Just a statistic, a recent Gallup analysis showed that people born between 96 to 2010 are going to overtake the baby boomers in full-time workforce. So with this background, the next generation that I have seen, or the Gen Z as we call, that I have seen, bring in a very, very different set of values, behaviors, and expectations to the workforce. Generation Next is open to change and, in fact, demands change. Very, very adapted, quickly adapt, learn, fail fast, and get up again. If I talk about the hierarchy, Generation Next prefers less hierarchical environment to work in. And also, the leadership that they prefer is more collaborative, consensus-driven. It might be rotating leadership, it might be servant leadership. And that is how they like to operate at firms or at organizations. Another aspect also, which I have experienced, is they really care about well-being, mental health, and flexibility. Flexibility for them is not a perk, it is a fundamental right. And post-COVID, since most of us have now moved on into hybrid models, but Generation Z is very, very clear in terms of the way they really want to approach their roles at the workplace. Also, a few characteristics that really kind of I was just looking at, and it's a very interesting statistic that I came across, is that 61% of Gen Z feels that the work is their identity, whereas 86% of the managers of these Gen Z feel that work is their identity. So I think I found it really very interesting because, for generation next, there is life beyond work. They would want to identify themselves not associated only with work, but outside work as well. And this is what really kind of, was very, very fascinating for me to look at the statistic. And I'm sure with, times ahead, it's actually the percentage of 61% that we speak now will definitely kind of, drop down as well. And yes, I mean, these are a few observations to start this conversation with. But yeah, this is where I think generation next is moving forward.
Thank you, Hitesh. You're absolutely right when you say that they are more assertive. Flexibility is key, and their own approach towards how they look at work and employment is certainly different than what a baby boomer generation or a previous generation used to look at. So, coming to you, Priya, how do you think organizations are gearing up for today's realities?
My background is from what I've seen in the earlier panel and from this panel as well, very, very, very different from the kind of workforce that I've interacted with in the last 17 years, right? I was largely associated with nonprofits before I pivoted to a for-profit insurance tech startup 3 months ago. So the world has been very different. My reality has been very different in terms of how we have responded to some of these things. But what has been interesting in this transition and the parallels that I have been able to see, which is very true today, is that, and you must know of Simon Sinek and the work that he's done and the lectures he gives really on culture and workplace well-being, etc., and what really this generation looks for. It is very purpose-centered. So irrespective of what work you're doing at the end of the day, people do look for purpose in their work, right? And like Hitesh just pointed out as well, it's no longer around work. Yes, flexibility is a right, and there is work-life. There's no work-life balance anymore. There is actually work-life integration. And I feel like organizations have to start to respond to this change in how do you make work and life integrated at the workplace. So I've seen some of the, like a huge surge in workplace communities, allowing people to express themselves beyond their work, whether they are community groups that foster their overall sense of growth and development. These groups thrive, right? And no longer do people need to have access to these groups, whether it's a trekking group or a reading group, outside of work. They have access to this in their workplace. And organizations have started responding to some of these things by integrating life and work together. It's also one of the ways in which you can probably get that 61% work identity going up, right? Like, how do you increase that work identity? It cannot be just through the work that you do. It actually has to be through other things that makes you feel like you are a part of this organization, you're loyal to this organization, you have a goal and a purpose in this organization. So that's one way in which I've definitely seen organizations respond. The other way in which I've seen organizations respond is become a lot more flexible about allowing people to not be in a box. So earlier, certain skill sets meant certain jobs, and your career was defined by those skill sets. There was no mobility away from those skill sets. If you started your career as a sales professional, you'd probably end up your career as a senior sales professional. If you started your career as a chartered accountant, then you would probably end your career as a CFO, right? And that was the trajectory most people followed. You cannot follow that trajectory anymore. I don't think you are responding to today's generation by following this trajectory. You have to give them a lot more opportunity to grow laterally, explore skills that they haven't been able to explore through their education. Um, a lot of the organizations that I have worked with, spoken to, follow an attitude first hiring approach these days. Very, very different from a skill first hiring approach that they used to take even say 10 years ago. What this attitude first approach does is it tests for just core competencies that you need to thrive in an organization. And in about 18 months, you can just be in a very, very different role. You can go from customer success to HR to customer success to sales to finance to HR, and all of these movements are possible because you have the attitude to make this shift happen. And when you say attitude, it's largely adaptability, it's resilience, it's on the job learning, it's proactiveness, saying, I will put my hand up and be a part of a project which is not necessarily a part of my job description. I have also seen organizations do all hands on deck projects, which means that this has got nothing to do with your department and something has happened and you still have an opportunity to volunteer, take up core responsibilities that allows you to show your skills in a completely different area. Your leader recognizes you, so that happens as well. The last thing that I just want to touch upon is Hitesh also mentioned this, and I think Anagha in the previous conversation mentioned this. It's a woke generation. They do like to have a voice in the system. They don't like to be silenced. They will speak their mind, and it's very, very well appreciated, right? A lot of technology has enabled this. Lot of internal comms has drastically shifted from being a top-down approach, say leaders saying this and that getting implemented, to actually having forums where you can get to ask your leaders really, really strategic, critical questions, ask your whys, ask those, given those opportunities to interact with them in a very informal setting as well, but participate in building your organization rather than being a spectator and seeing, hey, you know what, it will happen, I will grow at one point in time, and when my time is right, somebody will come up to me and say, this is how you grow. So I think a lot of participation organizations have now pivoted to having internal comms also be technology driven. There are lots of anonymous questions that get circulated which are very, very well received by the organization, saying, okay, employees have this need and how do you find spaces for them to share this? So I think these are 3 to 4 big shifts that I'm seeing organizations make. I'm not going to go into the DEIB well-being space right now because we do have a section on that, but these are some of the shifts.
Yeah, you are absolutely spot on when you say that today's generation at work, they see their world well, or the workplace also well integrated into their overall world, and they want those sensibilities also to be responded to. And of course, they are more vocal, that's true. I mean, in terms of their whole notion of authoritative relationship with the organizational hierarchy is completely different. Absolutely true. Coming to you, Saurabh, you come from an organization which probably is straddling both the domains, the tech intensive domain as well as the traditional processes with which a typical organization would envisage. Now, I'm sure this also presents different set of challenges because of the competency demand on the employees, as well as manager leaders who are managing such organization which has to straddle the needs of the market, which is both where the speed, scale, as well as the personalization or customization are equally needed. Now, what has been your experience so far in terms of dealing with the workforce of today, and how do you see things evolving in future?
Sure. Thank you, Doctor. So, guys, I'll take the liberty of being a bit less diplomatic, if that's okay with you. and some of the words might pinch also, but that's okay. So see, when I look at Gen Z, uh, there are two things that come to my mind. One is that these guys are smarter than we were when we were their age. Far, far smarter. You guys can do things which we couldn't even dream of. Well, you had the resources, but you're using the resources well. So that's a positive. On the contrary, or what the paradox is, what I believe is, what you want for yourself is not what you're willing to give to the others. I'll give a small example. Uh, so the people in customer services, and we talk about work-life balance, customer service being a department where the customer immediately needs you, especially in a industry like ours. Let's assume a health insurance case, and we are running a customer service department. Now, work-life balance might tell you that you work for 8 hours because work is not life. We, on the other hand, come from a generation where we used to be told work is worship, karm hi dharm hai, but that might not hold true for you, right? Now, a customer is expecting that work karm hi dharm hai wala concept up you will take now and you will deliver what is expected from you. But आपके लिए कर्म धर्म नहीं है, तो दोनों अलग अलग चीजें हैं. But when you become a customer, the expectation is exactly the same. I want it now, instant, immediately. My Zomato order is 10 minutes late and it gives me restlessness. Does that happen? Right, it does. So I think when we deal with Gen Z, the biggest question that we have to ask is, are we able to give them a reality check as to what is it that they need? I know what they want, probably the word, right? But just because we want it, can we get it? The answer could be a little harsh, right? It is not going to happen on its own. So, what is it as an employer, as a leader, as management, as someone who wants you to be on the successful side of your career? What is it that we can do, or what? How can we help you achieve that? You get that word that you're asking for. I think the answer lies in making some realizations as to what you want. What is the means of achieving that is something that we need to clearly identify. Now, I was talking to someone, and this call comes to me at around 7 in the evening, and this voice on the other end of the phone asked me, "Sir, we had 2 days back requested that a new bus service be started from Mumbai to Thane. I have not got any revert on this." So I said that there is one important detail that I need to know before I answer your question, and that is, who are you? And then the name came, and you're calling from. Then the office location came, and which function. Then that came. Now 2 days back I got an anonymous out of the blue kind of a mail saying that we should start a bus service, and immediately after 2 days the expectation is that I've not got revert that what is happening to my request. So the expectation is instant gratification, which happens in social media. There's a chemical that our body releases called dopamine. I call it dope. We like it. It makes us feel good. Facebook पे post डाला, instant likes. We go back again after 10 minutes, 10% increase in the likes, and we keep going back to it. Next day morning, we wake up. The first thing we do is how many likes on the post, right? So that instant gratification might not be the answer at workplace. One part of your life is going to be realizing that it has to be built step by step, and how we go about building that journey of a successful career is something that as an organization we should be looking at. Now, this said, the other side of the story is that it is not always that the one side has to change. I'm not on a mission to change Gen Z and make them the baby boomers. That's not the idea, and that is not going to be a successful idea also, if that comes to mind. So what is it that we'll have to do as an employer? I think one thing is that most of the activities which are redundant, which don't add much value to the career or purpose that you're seeking in the job, have to be automated, and there comes the technology part of it. So you're used to using technology, you are good at using technology. If things can be automated, things can be made simpler, that is what the immediate answer from the employer would be. And every employer, I believe, will be interested in trying to do what the expectation from the next generation would be. However, when it comes to giving you the life growth, it is not technology alone that is going to help. So as Hitesh was pointing out, and my colleague Priya was also telling, there has to be a purpose, right? So what is that purpose of this job is something which the person will have to understand who's taking that job up, and basis that purpose, if it means something, if it gives you some kick, probably you'll be able to succeed in that. So one again example that was someone was telling me and is coming to my mind now is if you love doing what you do, you'll be happy about it, you'll enjoy that. If you don't like what you're doing, that's called burnout, right? Mahatma Gandhi did Dandi March several days walking barefooted. He was not burnt out. I go to a party with my wife, half an hour, that's enough for me. I'm burnt out, right? So, I mean, I hope my wife is not looking at this. So, it depends on what the purpose is. If you're able to associate yourself with the larger thing, then it makes sense. Another example I'll give you. So, I ask students as to what is it that they're looking for in their career. They say purpose, sir. We have to feel associated. We want to do good in the world. So, if you're doing something like helping the global warming cause and all that, that is something, which attracts us, which kicks us. Fair enough. When the campuses start, which companies come first? The companies which are paying the most. So that's a contradiction, what I'm trying to say. What you want and what the actions are two different things sometimes. And this leads us to a deeper question as to what is it that I really, really want, right? So I want X, Y, Z, whatever could be. Is this the job giving me and delivering it? Is something which probably you guys should be looking at. From the employer side, I think the employers are changing every day. There are new things coming in. The flexibility that demands as I gave you example of customer service, there are some jobs which will be offering you flexibilities. There are jobs which might not be able to offer you those kind of flexibilities. A doctor cannot be working from home all the time. He will have to come to the OT, as simple as that. So it also depends what career path you choose. Asking for flexibility, asking from remote working, asking for autonomy might not be the answer. So autonomy cannot be given in defense forces, for example. You cannot decide who will enter or cross the border with Pakistan or Bangladesh on your own, because the authority is required to be given to you. There has to be a set of rules that has to be followed. So it depends on the job profile that you're into. And as an employer, I think most employers are more than happy to provide whatever is best possible, subject to that the job gets done the way it is supposed to be. I hope, Dr. Mishra, I answered that question.
Certainly. And I think two takeaways which I can see. One is the self-awareness on the part of the employees or any individual, that what do you expect out of any relationship. And then of course organization find their own way to respond to those expectation. And second part is that expectation management itself, whether for ourselves or for the organization. Some organizations do a good job of setting expectations with the employees and then providing processes which actually helps them fulfill those expectations. Some organizations do not do a great job of setting those expectations or corresponding to those expectations. So Lataji, coming to you, what has been your thoughts about how organizations you think today are responding to the expectations which the emerging generation has in terms of expectations in terms of their work and expectation in terms of how employers respond to them?
Hello. For a moment, I thought I'd lost my vocal cords. So, Gen Z is a very interesting generation. So, they were born with internet and mobile phones, and they can be termed as aspirational technophiles. So, they are absolutely tech savvy and with a lot of aspirations. So, because they were born in a technological world, their aspirations is of a fast-moving career, and they should realize that the career needs to be more grounded, more informative, and it has to be developed in a more holistic way, which sometimes takes time. And we find in our organization, at least in Aponli, we have a major chunk of technological guys who are Gen Z. And they have this incredible thirst for knowledge, which they themselves dig deep into and derive whatever they need, which is a fantastic quality in them. Also, they are vocal about what they want out of their job environment for fulfillment of their job satisfaction. So, what organizations, companies like us do, we listen to them. We listen to them, we understand and evaluate their ideas, and then we collaborate with them and give them a chance to prove that their ideas can really be beneficial. And then we adopt them if we find it feasible. So that both are in a win win situation. And aspiration wise, Gen Z, we feel, wants to move up the ladder very quickly. So for them, our companies have devised these cross-functional work metrics, also multiple work formats, where you can try out your interest in a particular position and also explore diagonally, laterally, vertically, whatever you are interested in, so that you also are not stagnated in a particular position. And you are given an opportunity to, for example, if you are a programmer, you can move into network administration if you are interested and want to explore that. And later on, you can move into the IT space, the entire IT administration, which you will also grow and you will also have a holistic experience. Secondly, this Gen Z also, we feel they need constant feedback which is given to them, and they are also very happy with rewards and recognitions. So when we feel that the work is really good or it has benefited the company, there is always a policy of appreciation through rewards and recognitions, and also town halls wherein we acknowledge their contribution, and we also reward them accordingly. So organizations are proving to be very much in tune with the demands of the Gen Z, and they also look for value proposition in their job, that what is it going to give me in the next 5 years. And that completely depends on the Gen Z, how you align to your work and the company objectives. Because ultimately, your achievements will reflect only in what the company's achievements are. You have to align your efforts to ensuring that the company's missions and objectives are attained. So, in that respect, we empower the employees by not micromanaging them, by giving them space, by allowing them to use their discretion, and also not ensuring that the communication is two ways, not just top down. We also have the companies have evolved. They have left behind the old baggage of a fixed structure in hierarchies. And we have become more flexible, more flat to accommodate more people in the positions. I think these are quite a few changes that the companies have made to ensure that Gen Z is going to be productive and also going to remain interested in the positions and continue contributing on a longer term. Professor?
Thank you. And I think you brought up the interesting aspect that the relationship or how Gen Z is more tech savvy. And I have some interesting experiences with some of my employers, I came from an institution where when flexible timing was not even talked about, so for 25 years, there is no office timing for us, okay, in my profession. But I have never missed any of the assignment which has been given to me. So, like I have to teach a class, go to a meeting, attend some work. Uh, I don't swipe any card. My login, log out are not checked in. But I am considered one of the most loyal, committed, and responsible employees. So, if they have to give some reward, they will give us every year reward of being most committed employee, right? Because even at the middle of the night, if there is a call to work, we will simply, like an automated machine, we will simply get up and go at 11:55, do the job, come back. And then I land up in an organization where your entry and exit is being monitored. And not only that, every week you will get a mail saying how many hours you have clocked this week. And the thought came to my mind of, I don't think I have been productive enough if I clocked 44 hours a week. It only tells my organization that I was physically locked inside the doors of entry exit for 44 hours within the building. I was there. Whether I was productive or not, whether I was happy or not, I was not there, right? And a lot of time, a lot of younger colleagues would come up and say, what is the purpose? I mean, which any one of us can actually see that. And that's what I see technology many a times, and in my own experiences sometimes, that even organizations which have end-to-end ERP implemented, and then they will ask the manager to take a printout, sign and file, right? And they take great pride, they have invested crores in ERP, and the end stops there. Filing is still important, right? Those filing dockets have not gone away. What I'm trying to point out, that when we look at a whole generation which is so comfortable with technology, that technology is almost in their skin, they understand that the technology can be controlling, but technology can also be liberating. Technology can make you more productive, but technology can actually at the same time can make you absolutely redundant in that sense, right? It can make you super intelligent in 1 second, and next second it will make you look like a dumb fellow, right? Now, how do organizations, Mr. Nurani, respond to these kind of challenges where you are dealing with a workforce which is so adept at technology, but how do we respond to these paradoxes, that whether organizations use it to facilitate performance or use it just a mechanism to manage their cost or speed or monitoring or controlling? The tendencies is that controlling part comes very easy, but do you see that given the kind of workforce or the characteristics of the workforce which fellow panelists talk about, organizations have a real opportunity where they can actually create processes and mechanisms where they can facilitate performance and make the employees feel better in terms of better cared for?
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Good afternoon to everyone. Uh, Actually, this is a very interesting topic, and it's pretty apt in today's trending times. Also, within the companies, how to, align with the Gen Z is critically discussed. Let me put it that way, because it's an opportunity, as Sir mentioned, but it's also a challenge. We need to overcome that challenge to make it, into a fantastic opportunity for the betterment of the person, of the new recruit, as well as the organization. Now, before I get into this, my discussion would revolve around this, that the world of business has generally seen three generations. Let's start with the Industrial Revolution, which was about, our grandfathers or Gen Z's great grandfathers, probably. We are all ages catching up on our side, everyone here. At that point of time, we can call it as a survival stage. the focus was always on necessities. Roti, kapda, and makan, that's all our grandfathers or at that point of time thought about. So even if the environment, the bosses were abusive, the environment was not good, overworking was there, any kind of harassment or something, but still people would not shift from one company to the other. Okay, because there were not many opportunities available. Let's put it that way. Second came in the information stage, or here, this is where most of us come in, or to a certain extent of others. Here, the focus shift from necessities to survival. Now, the necessities were taken care of. Survival, as in the standard of life, standard of living rather, was more into focus. Uh, Banks started playing a better role. So loans were available for houses, for vehicles, etc. So slowly, the standard of living started improving. Uh, it's a very simple example. I can put it up like the Maruti ad. Kitna deti hai started exactly here. We started inquiring by what is actually going to come. Whereas in the previous one, jo bhi mil raha hai bhai de dijiye, please. It was actually a very sad situation. The third one, where right now the Gen Z is the digital or the social revolution. Or that, in this, I mean, as ma'am rightly said, you guys were born with a smartphone in your hand. So information is absolutely freely available. Today, if you want to learn how to fly aeroplane or learn coding, that information is available on Google or YouTube. Okay, all you have to do is channelize it in the right direction, use it to your advantage. Uh, Here in your, I mean, the Gen Z, what we are seeing are focusing only on the quality of life. So it's no more kitna deti hai, it's kya deti hai. You guys are started to ask questions. Before even joining the company at our time, we never even got into all that stage. I mean, I'm the only business guy here, all are from HR, so I think they will echo these sentiments. Okay. So you guys are asking, and I wouldn't say it's wrong. Yes, rightly so. But one caution I would like to advise is that before you step into the, or when you are actually getting into the corporate world, you guys need to learn to crawl or walk before you can fly. This is a personal advice from my side as well, because as everyone, all my esteemed co-panelists of the opinion that you guys want to climb the ladder very fast. There is no shortcut to success. Yes, we all recognize that. At the same time, from an organization perspective, what sir has also asked, there are quite a few things. Few of my esteemed panelists have already covered it, but certain 2-3 points which I would like to just highlight is that there should be a job clarity. When you guys, or this is especially for new recruits or anyone moving from one company to the other, what you expect out of the job vis-a-vis what the boss or the manager is expecting. If there is absolutely no clarity, this is where a major problem arises. We tend to see the glamour of a certain company. Oh, that guy comes in a fancy car. Oh, he is wearing this, he's wearing that. Oh, they are always seen in conferences, example, Okay, fine, that must be his profile. That can be your aspiration to be. But from day one, you're never going to get that. You need to climb that ladder, learn, adapt, and be there. So, in this particular thing, you need to really focus on self-learning, I would say. Second is, from an organization perspective, empowerment. We as organizations, we would love to, or we should rather empower you more in terms of taking your own decisions, in terms of allowing you to do a task on your own, of course, subject to the basic training you need with the resources that are required, or any support that you need, of course, all are available. This is what we feel that Gen Z is requiring. Purpose-driven work, Saurabh had already nicely covered it, okay, that you just align a purpose to the work. And taking your example, sir, in one of the government organizations, I don't want to name the company, there was a guy who used to just transfer files from one cabin to the other for signatures. A wise man thought of, in the HR, thought of putting a designation onto him to motivate him or give a purpose. His designation was DRO. On the face of it, everyone said fantastic. The full form of DRO is Document Rotation Officer. So, but that really made him a sense of pride. Okay, I'm not just another guy who's just doing the filing, printing here and there. Now I am associated with this company. This is on a very, very micro level, basically. Second is feedback culture, what we also look at. An organization which I have seen personally very closely is that what they had adopted is every organization is open for feedbacks, but it should be without recourse, first of all. Now, this company, they had started an email ID, your suggestions at abc.com example. They had appointed a committee with a TAT, defined TAT. All mails were copied to the senior management. And the good thing was that senior management also used to keep a tab. The employee was honored with a token of appreciation if that implementation, that suggestion was implemented. And one most important thing, the suggestion could be as simple as having changing the toilet tissue roll, or as major as changing the office for, but backed by a good reason. Simple as that. Now, if your suggestion is implemented, they would recognize. If not, they would come up with app reasons as 1, 2, 3. This is the reason why we're not able to do this. Probably we can look at it at a later stage. So here the attachment really helped. See, all of the companies have this, but again, if from an organization perspective, Gen Z and the company both are having a fantastic connect, it makes life easy. I would like to just put it that way. And last but not the least is that we should all, I mean, you guys have a career progression in mind. It should be well defined, no doubt, but just don't try to jump the ladder. You need to adapt to the skill sets that you require to get there. Organizations are here to help you. The HRs, every aspect of the management is there to help you deliver. If you perform, the company performs. Simple as that. So, and I mean, that's, I would like to sum it up with this because quite a few points were also taken care earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nurani. You know, I'm reminded of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland story. I don't know how many of you have read. And Alice and Red Queen are running but are moving, going nowhere, right? Then Alice asked Red Queen, I'm running so fast but I'm not moving anywhere. The Red Queen said that if you run as fast as you have been running, you will be where you are. But to go anywhere, you have to run twice as faster. And to me, this as a metaphor, technology's role today, helping organizations manage employee experience, is like making them help run twice as faster. And that twice as faster, what Priya earlier was saying, that apart from the work, today's next gen employees see workplace as largely embedded into their life itself, their worldview. And so they need avenues through which they can express themselves, both on matters related to work or other interests. Now that's where technology can play a big role. Technology can also play a big role in helping them perform better, enhance their productivity, right? General tendency, as I said, it comes very easily because technology does have a great monitoring or observational or controlling streak, which, if you see from an authoritative perspective, people feel happy and think that that's the best benefit they can adopt. But if organizations more and more take an approach where they see technology as facilitator, that I think is likely to help manage the new age resources better. Now that brings me to the third block which we plan to talk about, is the diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as employee well-being. So coming to you, Saurav, what do you think today organizations can do to achieve the mandate of facilitating diversity, equity, inclusion in the organization? That's part A. And part B is about how does those initiatives link to the overall employee well-being and the larger mandate of preparing organizations for tomorrow?
Sure. Thank you, sir. So the short answer is a lot. I'll go to the long answer. Uh, See, this agenda for diversity and inclusion has been part of management discussions for ages now. And it really hurts to see that actually, if you look at the current setup of an organization and any organization, the difference won't be much. Representing financial services, I've spent entire life and entire career in financial services. What I believe is that as a society, as a culture, Indians are brought up in a way where women have not been participating in the financial decisions of the family, right? Now, since those decisions at the nuclear family level were not something that women were encouraged to take up, it somehow has developed that even today, when you speak and interact with a lot of highly successful, highly educated people, also, the financial part is left to the men in the family. That is one part of it. So the society has a certain built up the way it is. Second, I believe there is some sense of understanding that people have developed that financial services specifically, because I've just spent my life there. I don't have experience of other industries, are kind of the products that we have, the kind of services that we offer. It's very difficult for a lot of people to get into. It's kind of difficult to chase those targets and all. I completely disagree with this understanding that people have developed. And the last part, see, as a economy, the way India has been growing, it is only the 50% of the population, or maybe let me take it to 60 as a point of reference of the population that has been contributing to it, because rest 40% has not been participating. However, that does not mean they've not been creating value. The only problem is the value that they've been creating is not actually put into quantitative mode. Otherwise, imagine where the country would have been had that 40% also been contributing, and their contribution would have been measured. So, if you look at the ecosystem, you look at government policies. Very recently, the government came out with, for example, on the women benefit side, maternity leave benefits have been increased to 6 months. So the entire ecosystem, including the government, is working in that direction, that we enable all sect of population to start contributing to the growth of the industry or the economy. However, it is still at a very nascent stage. There is a lot to be done. As an organization, I think as mature organizations, a lot of organizations are now making it an agenda. While it hurts me that why should this be a specific agenda? This has to be natural. But since it is not happening naturally, I think a lot of organizations are moving in a direction where it is a very specific agenda for an organization to increase participation of all sects of segments, be it on a sexual ground, be it on linguistic ground, be it on geographical ground, to be participative in their growth. And that is the only way, I think, going forward. As I said, we have achieved a lot as an economy, but if we have to move further, the inclusion of all is something which is mandatory. And as an organization also, we feel that is the way to go. Now, again, very specific to financial services, we are an organization which is spread across the country, right? So you'll find our branches in rural areas in south as well as in north, east as well as in west, right? Now, if one has to move up the ladder, as my friend was talking about, of course, it takes a lot of hard work, but it also takes a lot of understanding of the business. While the diversity that as Geography India brings to the table, the people preferences changes after every 200 250 odd kilometers, right? So what could be right in north is not necessary to be right in south, and vice versa. Now, if you have to become a holistic overall leader and move up the ranks, you need to have experience of all sides. South, for example, in insurance does not behave the same way as north does, right? West, for example, we believe is a territory which is very difficult to manage in terms of health insurance as compared to Northeast, right? So there are geographical understandings, there are limitations as well as opportunities, which one need to understand. And I think this becomes second challenge when we speak about the female participation in the growth of the organization, because the families get linked. How an organization can handle that kind of transition from one to another is something the second part of the solution could be. because as females, as the better homemaker out of the two, ladies are also carrying the responsibility of managing the family, and it is not that they're carrying the responsibility, even the expectations are set that way, right? So no one would expect me to feed, ensure that the children are fed, but definitely the expectation would be from my wife, and that is how the society is. So they have to work twice. How does an organization help and make sure that those opportunities continue coming to people who might not be so mobile, who might not be so available all the time, who might require some special assistance? And I think most of the organizations are moving in that direction. So you'll see a lot of policies like sabbatical policies being available. What does sabbatical policy do? It simply ensures that the women employee can go take care of the family or her high learning or the parents' health challenges, and make sure that there is a job waiting once she's ready to come back. Right? All these policies are designed in a way to assist and help. Uh, Most of the companies, including ours, is now giving out a policy saying that in case of new mothers, we will extend the maternity benefit more than what mandatorily is required by the law. Then we will say that you can also avail the work from home facility for a certain period of time in case of new mothers, in case of health challenges, in case of issues with your parents, or health issues with your senior citizens in the family. So I think all these enabling policies are being created. However, I still feel a lot needs to be done. As I said, as an organization, most of the organizations have now made it an agenda that is being tracked even at the board level to some extent, that how are we including everyone into the organization, and what kind of growth are we giving to people who are coming from various sects of life.
Thank you. So Hitesh, in your view, where do you see this DEI debate going, and what are some of the newer ways organizations are trying to respond to that?
Yeah. So I'll specifically start with what our organization is doing in the DEI area. For us, we've started these conversations because somewhere we feel that as an organization, we are still at that stage wherein the conversations are very, very important. So because that is where the ideas will come, and for us to then take this agenda forward. But having said that, the kind of business we are into as an organization and the kind of roles that we have, wherein if I have to hire women workforce into the organization, I need to ensure the best of basics are in place, especially in warehouses and stations that across the country that we operate. Are washrooms available, and can we make that available? So for us, the question, or the conversation started from there. Diversity, equity, inclusion, yes, but for us to start with, the best of basics is what we're looking at. And I'm sure once we reach there, and especially in a pilot manner, we'll be able to then kind of induct gender diversity into the organizations. Definitely the enabling functions have that, and we have an entire charter drawn out for the next 3 years on the DEI front. But yes, best of basics is very important. The other aspect for us is, irrespective of gender, as an individual, as an organization, can I make that individual feel included in the discussions that we have in various platforms that are available, in our town halls, in our city leadership forums, you name it. And that is where we are aiming again. How do we build the culture of inclusivity, wherein irrespective of who you are heard, your voice is heard, and you can contribute in that manner. So I think on the inclusivity front as well, various forums are being now kind of looked at, and also the confidence to the Gen Z that this is a safe space. You will be heard, because I think in our earlier discussions it was very, very evident that Gen Z is very vocal about what they feel. They want to contribute to causes that they're very, very passionate about. So have we created those forums? Yes, we have. Gen Z Also, I would like to point out that 2024 is a year wherein you have 5 or 6 generations working parallelly in an organization. So have we really come up with platforms that can, have these interconnections between generations, discussions, so that is where the generation diversity also comes into place. And our city leadership forums are meant for having these kind of exchanges between generations to learn from each other. And yeah, that is one initiative I thought I will, speak about since generation diversity was also discussed. So yeah, these are a couple of things that we have started to. Definitely, as I said, there is a charter. But having said that, it also depends a lot in terms of where is your organization, at what stage, and also does it have the appetite to kind of look at the entire spectrum of DEI. Yeah, so these are my thoughts.
So, Priya, how do you see this whole idea of well-being as central to managing employee aspirations or employee engagement related? And do you see that this is part of an active debate within the organization and they're strategizing from an HR perspective?
If you don't mind, can I respond to the DEIB bit a little bit and then move on to well-being as well? I wanted to make a fairly controversial point. I think DEIB is tokenism more than anything else. As a woman, I genuinely feel like, please don't ask me how many kids I have and if I'm married in an interview process, if you're not going to ask a man that question. Right now, the whole focus is on hiring women. The focus is on the talent acquisition part of it. For some reason, they want to show in an annual report that, hey, I have a 50-50 split, so I'm a gender tolerant company and I have it's a safe environment. I don't think it's about talent acquisition. I think it is about a safe space beyond that, and whether they feel included. And more than that, I actually extended to another word called B, which is belonging. So if you're going to go hire people, what is the experience that they're going to have once they're in the system is really important. Recently, I actually, in the last 1 month, increased my paternity break to 3 months, saying that, and you can take this for in the first year of your child after your wife comes back to work. It's not important to just increase maternity. It makes no sense. A woman is so depressed at that point, she probably wants to go back to work. It is a reality. Men need to be given that time to take care of their babies. It shouldn't be about a woman raising a child independently on her own in that first year. I have a leadership in which I'm the only woman and there are all men, and 4 leaders walked up to me and said, make the paternity 3 months, because they all have children under 1 year and they all wanted to be at home with their children, watching them grow and making sure that their wives went back to work, right? That is important. I had another experience through which I really learned it the hard way around. So we hired a trans woman because we thought, of course, we didn't hire her because she was a trans woman, but we hired her because she had the skills, extremely qualified to do the job that she was supposed to do. And then she had a terrible, horrible experience in the organization because people are not educated. They don't know how to deal with a trans woman. We weren't really ready from a physical capacity to give her the right kind of restroom experience. We weren't really ready in terms of her teammates knowing what questions to ask her and what not to ask her, right? It led to a series of gamified sessions, which were very, very cool, that all of our employees went through on what was okay and what was not okay when you have diverse people in your workplace. Even simple things like when you enable a 6-month-old new mother coming back into workforce, you need a breastfeeding room. You need a room for the mother to pump milk. These are very simple things, and we don't really take care of some of these things. There is a really cool organization called Vishesh, which works with mute people, mute and dumb people, and the people are very, very well qualified. And Vishesh does a lot of trainings on sign language across corporates. The reason they do this is because they want their people to be placed, but there's no way their people can get placed unless there are people who can speak sign language in the organization. What kind of a community will you give them if you are not going to have that kind of system in place, right? So I feel like while we do talk about diversity, it is at a very, very tokenistic level. It is to just make some women feel okay about, hey, we value you, you come back to work. I don't really know if anyone truly cares about making it a meaningful experience and allowing them to thrive. Does a woman have just a seat at the table, or is it a voice at the table? That's a very important question to ask. What are the promotion rates in your organization? What is the difference between a man getting promoted and a woman getting promoted? How often do you go to a woman and say, hey, you don't have the business and the finance knowledge to be a leader in this organization? And if it is really so, what have you done to really upgrade that person? So these are very important DEIB questions, which I just want to leave as food for thought for us to mull over in terms of what culture we are building. And these are questions that I ask every day to my leadership team. These are questions that we are starting to work with from a policy lens, saying, I don't want it to be just a woman-friendly place. I want it to be a place which has equitable distribution of work responsibilities outside of work. So a man is as responsible for running his family as a woman is. So that is how I would look at it. The well-being space, another thing that COVID actually brought to the forefront more than anything else, right? Because before that, I don't think we were really discussing workplace well-being a lot. Maybe a little bit, but not so much. Mental health, grief that we all went through, loss that we experienced during that period. The HR teams across organizations started to, like, they didn't know how to respond. They didn't know how to support people who were going through trauma on a regular basis, right? That's when it all started to come into the forefront. Now it is very much a part of your daily discussion. It is no longer the burnout that people have spoken about. And burnout is, of course, physical, but it's also mental and it's emotional as well. At our organization, we have just sabbatical policies around mental health breaks that people really need to take. We have very, very open discussions on what's happening in life. We have just started to equip the managers as well as the HR teams on how to respond to people when they come with some kind of issue or a trauma or a well-being issue to you, right? Because let's face it, not all of us are certified psychologists to deal with these things. Neither are our first responders, which are our managers. So how do you equip them to deal with some of these issues? That also becomes really important. So there is some support and resource group that we're putting together to ensure that managers and HR teams don't get burnt out while responding to some of the queries that people get, which is a very real thing. Yeah, he's laughing. It's a very, very, very real thing. I think the number of times I have to take someone apart and have a conversation about, hey, are you okay from the breakup, is a very real thing that happens in my work. And then they do disappear for like weeks at end. But jokes apart, we have tied up with therapists. We have tied up with people who are on call, available 24/7 for our employees all the time, to ensure that there is support available to them. In my previous organization, we had even gone to the extent of allowing people to use their L&D wallet, which is their learning and development wallet, traditionally never used for mental health support, to be used for mental health support. To actually be used for a therapist or a coach that you need in your life that can help you get through a difficult phase. So a lot of people found that to be immensely advantages, that they could use their L&D wallet not just for learning Excel and PowerPoint, but also for any other emotional growth that they needed to experience, right? So just acknowledging that skills are important, but your emotional growth is as important, your mental well-being is as important. um, we have uh, we have explored both models of unlimited leaves, as well as very very liberal leaves, which to ensure that people have accountability, they can take care of themselves when they need to take care of themselves. So these are just some of the things that we have done from a well-being perspective. In my current organization, because we are an employee benefits holistic one, health, physical health is also important. There are a whole bunch of benefits, right from tests, that blood tests, and fitness memberships and other things that are at a discounted rate for employees. And there's a lot of encouragement. We have health melas in office. People come in, we do a whole bunch of series tests for them. They're given their medical report card, etc. So in addition to the psychological and emotional well-being, there's a lot of focus on physical as well right now.
So, Lataji, coming to you, how do you see well-being being instrumental for the organization or their initiatives on the well-being uh, for managing the future employees' expectations?
As human beings, I think we put our own well-being primary. Suppose there's a choice between feeling mentally harassed and being in a job, then your mental wellness will be your priority. So, considering that, we normally always have in our organization, we are constantly on the online platforms. We are constantly discussing with teams. We are constantly assessing if there is any issues. We are constantly in touch. So that is very important for me to know whether my colleague is undergoing any sort of a mental issue. However, with technology, of course, we've tried out the hybrid system, and we are still some of us on the hybrid system. But going forward, if we are looking at technology to be completely giving you the remote space, in that, under that circumstance, I feel technology is not the right thing to address well-being, because technology cannot replace human support. So human support is required for the well-being of our colleagues. If the colleague is contactable, then we can always alleviate that person's issues. However, if you are remote and you are isolated, technology is not going to help. You cannot just go on some apps and just listen to it, and I don't think it will work better than a human being taking charge of you. And physical well-being is primary, because unless you have a physical fitness, your psychological fitness will not be there. If you are suffering from some physical debility or ailment, psychologically you will always be stressed. So we have to take care, as a company, we have to take care, ensure that our employees are physically fit. So for that, we undertake activities like small treks. It also helps in bonding. It also helps in sharing, if there are sharing many things like the good and the bad. And this sharing of knowledge also helps in helping our colleagues with any problems they might be having. Once the physical, we also have some activities in the office where we make them do some physical exercises, like take so many steps, go down, and we have competitions about how fast to see the fitness, because some come up with heavy heartbeat, and you know that they need a little more weight management. So then you put them on to these life risk management tutorials, or then also get them to streamline their lifestyle, and also get them to do some diagnostics to see if they are suffering from any particular deficiency. So that is how the well-being is taken care of, and that will psychological well-being will follow the physical well-being, unless the psychological disruption arises from something in the background like home, or even that we've got buddies who speak to the colleagues regularly and ensure that such information is shared and help as far as possible. And third is the financial well-being. The first two, if they are sorted out, the financial well-being can be sorted out by a lot of handholding. Especially in fintech companies, we have a lot of financial advice that can be given. And we can do it all through the life cycle of the person at different stages. What are the financial advices that investments that person can make? Like at a younger age, at your Gen Z's age, y'all can take more risks. So y'all can invest in those kind of mutual funds and equity. Whereas if you get to the retirement stage, you are looking at more of SWPs for a steady return. So that kind of thing can be managed. Also in office, the work environment, the physical work environment, we ensure ergonomically it is very safe for everybody to not only do the individual focus on the work, but also collaborate seamlessly across workstations, and it's not too much of a discomfort. We ensure that ergonomically we are giving them the right kind of infrastructure. So these are some of the, and of course, ensuring that there is a fitness facility close by to which we can subscribe and give the employees a discounted membership where they can regularly. That's also an incentive maybe to come to office on time, because you go to the gym first and then come to office. So people end up coming to office on time. So
Yeah.
that way.
So like TV debates, you have the last 30 seconds.
The good thing about being last is most of the points get covered. So you have just to summary is your job, but still, I can take the liberty of just beating around the bush. But I'll just cover 2 or 3 points. Ma'am, I'll come to your point later regarding the well-being bit only. Rest, diversity, inclusion is taken, well covered. We just need to take care of a couple of things. One is an empathetic approach. Put yourself in their shoes. If you, any employee, being Gen Z or any, you just put them in your shoes. If you treat them the way you want yourself to be treated, that's the most simplest way I'll put. Okay, if he needs hand holding, if he's struggling with something, just don't be, too harsh on him, because you have a deadline to meet. We understand the pressures, everybody understands, but the times have changed. The pressures are no more past. This is exactly what well-being would refer to. Not only, putting somebody in a difficult position, help them, handhold them through, and let's do this together. That's also a sign of a great leader. Second thing would be the financial support. Ma'am, you said I really like the thought that you put that, as a company, it will be easier for you to give financial advices to the people. But I would like to go and say, let's go one step ahead. We as companies, we are much larger than an individual in all aspects. I would say we should extend it to financial support to the employees. Let's take a very simple example, our household help or our chauffeur. If they are struggling with some kind of financial requirement, whom they look up to, it's us. Similarly, I'm not talking about a housing loan or something like that. For that, banks are available with the company assisting wherever they can. But there are times where personal loan may tend to be very expensive for the person. He may just need it for a small, short period of 6 months, 3 months. But that help, it can be as small as 2 lakh rupees or 1 lakh example. But that small help will, tremendously remove his emotional stress, physical, mental. It would cover all aspects. Rest everything, yes, being physically fit is important. Mentally, yes. Emotional stress is just by giving no pressures. We almost take care of everything. At least try to. There can be a few leakages here and there, but that's unintentional. I will put it. It's always we as organizations or the leadership are also human. So there can be a room for error, but I don't think nowadays it's intentional at all. The DEI post-COVID, what Priya mentioned, yes, there is a much larger awareness in all this. People have, really come to the forefront. HR, especially, I mean, a big applaud to you guys. Hats off during the times when y'all came to the rescue, unprecedented event, how to handle it, how to go forward, emotional, physical support, everything. So times have changed. Let's go hand in hand together and use the multi-generational gap to our advantage, experience and innovation. Let's go hand in hand. Let the senior people who provide their experience, let the Gen Z do innovative stuff, and that can really bring in organizational excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nurani. So let me just do a quick sum up before you guys really take over. Huh? They're giving me all the signals. Yeah. So I think, as I said, 3 blocks we attempted to have a conversation around. What we learned from our panelists, that the Gen Z really, in terms of values and expectations, they are really more aggressive in terms of the way they see career and growth. So their meaning or notion of career and growth is different than what most of us could relate to. They value flexibility. They also value an integrated view about their workplace, which is more integrated in their overall worldview which they have. As far as technology is concerned, I think everybody, whether it's Gen Z or us, we want organizations to see it both in terms of not only a controlling monitoring device, but more as a performance facilitator device, instrument. And on diversity, equity and inclusion, it, we have to move beyond lip service, or what is the term we use is that tokenism, because in a country like India and with a large diverse population, uh, I don't think organizations themselves have their well-being in mind if they don't really correspond to the social realities of the day, and they work to help government, society in general to reduce the disparity by increasing uh, more diversity, more equity, more inclusiveness, and then only they can probably hope to be in a peaceful and a more coherent as well as more cohesive society operating. Otherwise, the disruptions which you see at times because of the conflicts or the social challenges, organizations, it will bring more inefficiencies to the organization. I mean, best example is railways. If there is political unrest or social unrest, railways functioning every day is affected. In India, somebody is aggrieved, doesn't like the breakfast in the morning, rail roko is the first thing they do. So, uh, think about more serious social challenges. If they manifest in some kind of unrest, no organization can think about, forget about selling insurance if people are fighting on the street, right? So it can't happen. I mean, that's an organizational mandate which they have to. And as far as well-being is concerned, I think, the best of the organization, and I'll close with one experiential example. One of my student went with one of the world's coveted MNC on a summer internship, and the managers, will make you learn kind of attitude, put them into a field job. And she went to a place where on the retail network visit, where there was no toilet available for women. And so what she has to literally do to ask a male colleague to stand guard while she has to relieve herself, because toilets would not have door or doors are broken and all that. And when she came back and complained that company put me on a job where this was not available and which is related to the safety. And when the company was communicated, manager was actually very condescending way, cribbing. We have, faced even more tougher circumstance. And if you can't cope with this, you have to find a way. Ultimately that bright young girl make a choice of not choosing that organization. Organization was willing to make an offer to her, and she chose some other organization, and she's doing exceedingly well. Now, between the two organizations, one would think that they made an offer and somebody's lost. But knowing the potential of the people, I realized that organization lost someone who could have been very, very valuable, and is actually now working for a competing organization and doing exceedingly well. And to me, that experience tells about well-being. One of the two colleagues I had, uh, both husband and wife were working with us. Husband passed away. They had no family. They were not very socializing type in the city, worked for years. Just to perform last rites, it was all of the colleagues and the organization which pitched in. And the colleague came back after some time and said, not for the salary, income, security, I don't value my organization. I value my organization for the most difficult moment in life. I had nobody else to look to. Daughter lives in US, can't come in time. And it was the organizational support which pitched in for that. And there won't be any formal mechanisms for that. And when we talk about well-being, I think we have to talk a little more than some of the functions which we do. We have to think a little beyond that. Thank you. Thank you to all of you.
I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the experts for sharing their valuable insights and contributing to this enriching discussion. At this time, I would like to invite my colleagues to kindly present a token of gratitude to our esteemed panel.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. With this, we end our second panel discussion.